June Singleton LLC Fitness, Health, Nutrition, and Wellness podcast. I would like to introduce today's guest, head coach at Mayweather's Boxing, fitness coach, founder and owner of Hillen Mitts Boxing LLC, Cleveland Hughes. Thank you for joining me, Cleveland.
Thanks so much for having me.
Can you give a background on who you are?
Well, that's always an interesting question because the question I always ask myself that same question: who am I? And I think I'm many things. But I guess more specific to the introduction that you just gave me. Yes, I am the head coach at Mayweather Boxing Fitness here in Chicago, and I am the owner and creator of Healing Mitts Boxing and the intentional boxing training system. And basically spent most of my adult life doing boxing training, and I want to help other people through the sport of boxing. I mean, if we want to, I'm sure you have a lot more questions for me, so I'm not going to try to give away too much on that first answer. But I mean, that professionally, that's who I am, the boxing coach that helps people through the sport of boxing.
Okay. And can you tell us how you became the head coach at Mayweather Boxing?
How did I become the head coach? Okay, so I mean, a friend of mine owns it, and so she went to LA, probably about a year and a half ago, and she was like, "Hey, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to bring this Mayweather Boxing and Fitness thing to Chicago." We had trained together previously, and she had come to some different classes that I had done, and she really liked what I had to offer as a coach. And initially, she asked me, if I wanted to, run the whole show and be a manager and things like that, because I had previously done that in the past. And I ended up deciding to go in the head coach route, just because I thought that being the number one coach and being responsible for the classes being good would be a better fit for my skill set. So that's basically how I became. And that doesn't entail all the work that led up to me, coaching, because I've been coaching for almost 11 years now. But this is just where I'm at right now.
Okay. And can you tell us how you got started in boxing? I read about you, and I know a therapist suggested to you. So what made you decide from that this was something that you would try?
Well, yeah, I mean, started off with the depression and trying to find my way in the world as a young man, fresh out of high school, going to therapy. And the therapist told me that I should try boxing. I was into sports, but I wasn't going to, play professional sports because I was just kind of too small for basketball or football. So boxing was the next option for me, because I had goals of being a professional athlete. And so I started, when I went to the boxing gym, it kind of changed everything for me, changed everything about me. Boxing, when I started boxing, what ended up happening, the fundamental change for me was I developed a fighter's mindset and what it looks like inside of a boxer's head. And that really changed a lot, because boxing is that sport where it's one-on-one, and your goal in that sport is to go in there and knock the other guy out. But neither boxer, being nervous or anxious or, fearful of, getting hurt never really doesn't serve a boxer. And so what ends up happening is you learn to control your emotions on another level, because you have to go in there and be calm and and fight the fight that you designed in your mind, that you rehearse in your mind. And and that's that visualization skill and that emotional control and all those other things that came along with the sport. those are the things that really changed my life.
And what was the breaking point for you to seek a therapist? What was the point where you were like the depression was too much for you?
Well, I mean, I looked at and and I don't do this as much as I did back when I was younger, but I compared myself to other people my age, and I looked at what they were doing versus what I was doing. So, I had a bunch of friends that that they went off to pursue college careers and things like that. They went to go play college ball and different stuff like that. But myself, I had gotten a part-time job and I was just working. And basically what I would do was I would go to work and then I would go home. And when I got home, all I did was sit in a dark room, play video games, isolate myself, and feel bad about myself. I had a lot of negative self-talk. And I figured that I needed to do something different. That if I had just stayed the same, then everything would stay the same. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel excited about life. So I thought that I needed to get some help. And that was the breaking point for me, is that I didn't feel like there was anything worth doing.
And were there any fears or hesitations, if any, around seeking mental help?
No, I was more afraid of what was going to happen if to me if I continued to stay in that dark room, if I stayed in that dark place. Because the thing about the way I experienced depression is I got to a point where I felt like nothing really mattered. I'm just one of 7.5 billion. I don't know how many people there were on the planet at that time. And my light didn't matter. And that was the thing that was scary. And so that was the scary part, is getting to a point where I felt like my life had some sort of purpose.
And how do you feel that boxing has helped you during that time to now? Because you seem to be doing really well, and I must commend you as a male who made that decision that, I don't want my life to look like this, because that is a struggle for most men.
Yeah, like I said, the boxing gave me an awareness that I didn't have, a self-awareness. It gave me introspection. It gave me emotional regulation. It gave me patience. It helped me be more calm, and to be a lot more thoughtful and mindful. And when you're thinking about things that ultimately make you a better person, those are all the things that, those are the things my therapist was telling me I needed to do. But I just found it through that sport, the sport of boxing.
And when did you start seeing that light appear in your life when you started boxing? Like, how did that make you feel ultimately?
I mean, I can't say it was the first day I was there, but it feels like the first day I was there, because it happened so early on that I knew that if I was going to be successful as a boxer, the person I was going to need to change. I was going to need to be a whole, I was going to need to develop a whole new skill set, um, to be able to participate in the sport of boxing. And I'll probably say the light really lit up on the transformation that need to happen for me was when I started sparring. When I started sparring and I got in the ring and I was nervous and I was afraid, and the other guy wasn't. I
Mm.
knew that at that moment that there was a shift that needed to take place. Because why am I so scared and this guy isn't? You know what I mean? And it's just because he had developed that mindset. And and that's when the light came on for me. It's like, you know what? This is going to make me a better person. And it wasn't just about the sport. I knew that I was there because I wanted to get better. I was there for personal development first, and boxing really came second.
What advice would you offer other males who have a hesitation and a fear of seeking mental health?
I mean, I would just have to have a real like heart to heart conversation with any men that are afraid to check in on their mental health and seek help. Um, I understand that most of us were brought up to not show emotion or talk about our feelings. But tell me, I'd want to ask these guys, like, tell me a situation where hiding your emotions and not saying how you felt served you. Um, and I'm willing to wait because for the most part, you're probably not going to find very many situations where not expressing your emotions has served you in any way, shape, or form. And to understand that everybody has things going on in their heads, and there's nothing wrong with being humble enough to get help. And the coolest thing about getting help is when you get help and you feel better, you do better, and ultimately you open up more opportunities for yourself to connect with people on a deeper level, really. And my advice to any men going out that's out, out there feeling not okay, it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to get help, and getting help will ultimately make your life much better.
Do you feel that when you were a teenager or younger that you experienced depression, or do you feel it came after high school for you?
See, yes. So I did experience depression from as early as I could remember. The thing is during the time, because I grew up in, the early 90s. I was born in 1989. And so during that time, there were a lot of things that were not socially acceptable like they are today in 2020. And another thing, being being a black man in our culture, it's also not a thing as well for men to be vulnerable and talk about their insecurities and what's going on with them. Is we've kind of, as a culture, we kind of keep things to ourselves. And so yeah, I was experiencing depression, anxiety, and all of those emotions as a kid. However, I didn't realize that it wasn't normal until I was an adult and seeking help. And these were patterns that I had been in for basically majority of my life, and I had no awareness that there was something wrong with the way that I was feeling, that it wasn't normal for somebody to feel this way.
I definitely agree because I definitely see I've worked in mental health and I've had male clients who had that fear of opening up and talking about their fears and their emotions and what's going on, and they try to mask that with alcohol or drugs or things like that instead of being able to talk about it or seek the help. And I think, it is a thing within our culture because it's looked down upon as, oh, you're crazy if you go to a therapist. You're crazy if you get help. And it's a shame thing. And it shouldn't be a shame thing. It's just like your overall physical health. You go to a doctor for it. And it should be the same thing for your mental health. Did you feel that when you seeked help, did you tell anybody, or was that something that you said to yourself, this is what I need to do for me?
I think, yeah, I was probably more so. I mean, it wasn't a secret to anyone that I was going to therapy. I didn't feel ashamed about going to get help. Um, I didn't feel anything, but for the most part, I just kept it to myself, and I just, it was for me. Like, just like, going to the gym and working out was for me. Going to a therapist and seeking help for my mental health, that was also for me. And I really, and one of the best things that ever happened to me as a young man was learning how to put myself first. Like, I really, I got okay with the idea of doing stuff for myself and making sure that I was full first before I tried to enter into the world, because I felt like there's a lot of people with empty cups out there that continue to go out in the world with their empty cup. And, we're not really being productive when we're, operating from, when we don't have much to offer anybody else.
So, how do you see yourself showing up for yourself, for your family, for your business? How do you see that for you?
How do I see myself showing up? I think, if I'm understanding the question right, and you can ask, we can rephrase, and if I don't get it this time, but I just see myself showing up the full me. And when I say that, I mean all of me, not just not all the best things about me, but all the things about me. Um, and just being authentic and just being who I am, and just being okay with being imperfect, but also having the awareness to continue to grow and build and try to present my best self, um, whenever that is appropriate.
And that is exactly what I was asking you.
Okay,
So,
great.
what was what made you decide to be the founder and the owner of Healing Myths? Like, what was it that said, I want to help other men, women? You work with men or women? What's the population that you serve with your organization?
I help everybody. I help men and women, mostly women, because for some strange reason, women are doing much more work on themselves nowadays than young men are. But it's not strange at all. I could see why it's happened in the way it happens. But I do help everyone. Um, but how did I decide to do this? Is because I have my story, and I healed, and obviously healing is a process that's always ongoing. It's not over with, but I got myself to a point where I am extremely functional, and I'm always getting better. I'm always trying to do better. And I was coaching boxing, and I was looking for more purpose in my professional life, and I wanted to make a greater impact on people. So I started asking the question, why do you box? And what people said to me was, I box because I'm depressed. I box because I'm anxious. I box because, I was in an abusive relationship. I box because of alcoholism. And it was an aha moment. I woke up to the fact that, hey, I'm not really helping people stay fit physically. It's more of a mental thing that I'm doing for them. And I asked myself, well, what is so therapeutic about boxing? And that's how I came up with the Healing Myths intentional boxing training systems. I just dissected everything I learned about the sport and how it could be therapeutic, and I just focused on those things. And yeah, I created it to help people feel better and take control of their emotions through the sport of boxing.
And when someone comes in for sessions with you, what's the process that you go through?
Well, the process it's pretty normal. People come in. I ask them, obviously, usually I know their name before they come in. Simple background questions, and I slowly start to uh, let them open up about why they're here. And what ends up happening is, when we get into the session, I could start to see some indications of what's going on with the person. I could start to see their anxiety by the way that they move. Some people like to fidget a lot when it comes to boxing. They fidget and tremble, and they make a lot of movements. Um, and that's for me, that's an indication that they're feeling anxious about something. And I ask them, like, do you have anxiety? And the question could be yes or no, or answer could be yes or no. And then I'm like, all right, well, cool, we'll try these breathing techniques, and let's try to stay relaxed. And let's see if we can uh, help reinforce this relaxation behavior throughout your days, and not just here in the gym. So it's like an ongoing assessment of how my client is feeling, and what they're willing to share. And then usually I can make an assumption like, okay, I see this, and then they're more willing to open up and talk to me more about what's troubling them.
And do you also work with them on mindset change?
Well, I mean, I do within my scope of practice. I don't claim to be a therapist or anything of the sort, but I just remind them how I understand the brain to work, and I explain to people that whatever you're doing, right, at any given moment, your brain is rewiring itself to be better and more efficient at whatever activity you're doing. So I explain that to them, and I say, if you've gotten yourself into a negative thought pattern, right? And every time you start to think those negative thought patterns, your brain starts to rewire again to give you more of that negative feedback loop. And but the bright side of that is, oh, what happened? Do you still have me?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know I don't know what happened. But are we still there?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, but the bright side of that feedback loop is also on the positive side. You can also, every time you're thinking positively, you're also rewiring your brain to uh, think more positively. And I just try to explain to them that whenever you catch yourself in a negative thought pattern, try your best to change the narrative a bit. Because every time you do that, you get better. You strengthen your emotional resilience every time you do that.
Okay. And also, what has, the outcome that you've seen with your clients, when they come in and you work with them for a while, like, is that something that you discuss with them? Like, okay, I see a change in you, or do they come to you and say, hey, I feel better? How does that work?
I asked them how are they doing in the tough moments, right? And their response and their feedback is yes, I have tough moments, but I've gotten a lot tougher mentally, working with you through these exercises, and I don't react the way I used to react after doing this. And after practicing being in more control of my emotions, being in more control of my responses and things. So basically, what I think what ends up happening is I just give them the tools to help them navigate those tough moments.
And what ways do you provide self-care for yourself?
Well, so the one of the things that I tend to do a lot is I spend a lot of money on myself, and I don't mean it like I splurge and I buy shoes and things like that, but I buy things like massages, and I buy personal training sessions, and I go to yoga classes and I do breath work. I spoil myself in self-care. I spend extra time and I invest a lot in myself to continue to learn, to grow, um, to heal, and to keep up that self-care, like a true self-care regimen where I'm doing everything I can to help myself be relaxed and healthy and feel good about what I'm doing and my everyday life.
I love that. And I don't hear any men ever say that, or women, that that's something that they do. And I commend you on doing that and taking care of your body, because your body is your temple. And you are, you want to be an example of what you're trying to display to your clients. So I definitely, definitely, definitely love that. Um, what would you recommend for men or women when it comes to physical health, mental health? What would you suggest that they incorporate in their everyday life and overall a lifestyle change?
I think if I could narrow it down to one thing, I would advise people to understand how to breathe. I think I think that is one of our biggest obstacles is we're so reactive
Mm,
and we're not really responsive, and I think that that comes through just being able to breathe. And those few seconds of when something, like I said, those tough moments, when you're faced with a tough moment, whether it be, you know, driving down the street or, or a relationship, just knowing how to breathe deep into your belly and just kind of be grateful for that breath, I think is the single most important thing that I teach my clients.
that's definitely powerful. So, how can someone reach you for services in the Chicago area?
Yeah, all you have to do is either go to Instagram, follow me at clevelandh.fitness, spelled just like the city with my H for my letter name dot fitness, or you can go over to healingmitts.org, and you can drop me a line through my site. There's a lot of resources there for people as well. So if you guys need a good, therapist or, doctor or something like that, I have partners that are there to easily to reach. And so if you need help or a recommendation, then you can always reach out to one of them as well.
And in case, parents that are interested in signing their kids up, you work with kids as well.
Yes, I do work with kids. About about 30% of my clients are kids. So I work with a lot of kids actually.
Well, I definitely thank you for your time. I thank you for what you're doing for yourself, that you took the time to realize that I don't want to live a life like this. And you took the initiative, and I applaud you for that because it's not many men or women that do that for themselves. And I definitely commend you, and I thank you for coming on and sharing your story with me.
I really appreciate you having me. I'd be willing to do it again if you have more time for me.
I will definitely have you back. I am thinking about doing like a conference with a therapist and, different people talking about their experience, and I would love to have you back on that.
That sounds like it's right up my alley. So when you get that organized, I'm with you on that.
All right. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.